Dreaming won't change it, that's one thing for sure. And this is the World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and I want to wish all of you out there a very happy and healthy Labor Day. Our show today is about working from home. The mail order market is exploding. As a result, at-home businesses have emerged as a very viable form of self-employment. Most people yearn for financial success, but when it comes to a state of denial due to disbelief, shock, or skepticism, this can turn the road to success into an obstacle course. Our guest today, Amrik Kang, is the author of The Talk of Our Times, Income at Home. He's an expert on the topic of generating income from home by using home-based businesses to mail order strategies. And today he'll give us some tips on how we can start our own home-based business, some do's and don'ts, some rules of thumb. Amrik Kang, welcome to the World of Work. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to speak to you. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in the state of Punjab in India.
How long were you there? When did you leave and come to America?
I came to America in 1984, the first time. Then I had to leave to get a visa 3 years later. In 1987, I had to re-enter with a valid visa.
And when you came to America, what type of work were you involved in?
At that time, I was a demonstrator for a German company. We were selling kitchen appliances, cookware, and stuff like that. We were going home to home, doing home demos. We were doing it in Canada. They were also doing it in the United States.
What got you involved in the mail order business, working from home?
Okay, when I came to California, after my boss, George Dow, retired, I decided to retire at the same time. We were very close. Then I went into real estate, and when I was in California, I started my home business company even at that time. But soon after that, I moved to Seattle, Washington. That was 1990. And when I came here, then I started a company called Spectrum Enterprises, and later started a subsidiary of Spectrum Enterprises known as the People's Publishing House, even though they both have the same tax number, but there's two separate branches.
And what type of business was Spectrum Enterprises and People's Publishing?
Spectrum Enterprises was started in 1990, August of 1990, when I first moved to Seattle, as a publishing company, because even at that time, I had the publishing of some books in mind. But later on, because I decided to throw other things into business, I started People's Publishing House as a separate entity so that I can keep the publishing part separate from the rest of the stuff.
And what type of publishing? Was this self-publishing, or would you publish for someone who came to you? How did your business work? Was it separated?
Okay, at that time, I was thinking of becoming a publishing company, publishing my own works and somebody else's work too. But soon after I arrived here, I got a job with the Boeing company that builds airplanes. So I kept that job for the next 12 years, and then my wife was taking care of the home business. Plus, she decided to, later on, do homeschooling of our two daughters. So this is how it came really handy for us.
And for 12 years, your wife kept the home business going. What was she doing?
Yeah. At that time, I was busy writing some books. I had already published a couple of books. Those were in a foreign language. They were not selling here, but I had some writing experience. My first book came out in 1980. The other one came out in 1981. Those were really very, very well selling books back in the old country. But then people suggested that I should be writing in English so that I can make money from my writings. So that's why I decided to write in English. The first book, Income at Home, that I published in 1995, even though I started to publish in small format, in a booklet format a little bit earlier. But in the real book format, it came out in 1995.
And what was that book about? I mean, obviously the title is Income at Home, so it's generating income from the home, but what type of topics?
Yeah, that book was just touching on the basics of home business, how you can start a home business. Even though I wouldn't give anybody a legal advice if they want to start a corporation or a sole proprietorship, that's where you guys come in. So, but it was the basic tips that the first step is just to get your company registered, find a name, get it registered, and then get a product and make some corrections and go from there. So that was just very basic things. There was not very specific things how you can proceed from there.
The book we're talking about today is The Talk of Our Times, Income at Home. This is your 5th edition of that book. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, there are a lot of books out there by authors who talk about working from home. Why is your book different? Why should anyone want to read it?
Yeah, you're right. There are so many books out there, and my books were because I was writing from my own experience because we were doing it. I had a wife who did not have a job at home, a job outside the home. She was working from home, and I was having a full-time job, and we were not just talking theoretical things. We wanted to give people something firsthand. We wanted them to know this is how we are doing. So that's why I started to write my own books based on my own personal experience, telling them how much can they generate and how they can do it. So that's why we came up with having my own books.
Did Spectrum Enterprises and People's Publishing flourished while your wife was in charge for 12 years?
Exactly. Spectrum Enterprise, even though later, that's why I kept the name Spectrum Enterprises, because I had some other things in mind. I thought maybe in the future I will be adding more things to it. So that's why I came up with that name. But People's Publishing was clearly a publishing company. And when I was working for the Boeing company, my wife was selling some small products like some jewelry items, perfumes, and other things. And later on, we decided to add books, one book at a time, then first book, the second book, the third book, to her inventory of selling things online. And she started doing really well. The first year, it wasn't that much. It was about $20,000 gross. Then it went to $40,000, then $100,000. It went to $135,000. While we were still living in a 3-bedroom apartment, it became very hard for us to stay in that apartment because of that much volume and that much noise, that much traffic, that what we were creating from that third floor apartment.
Where was it that you stored the items that were sold?
Yeah, the items, most of the items we were getting from the wholesale companies, but later on she decided that selling books is more profitable. So she started to ease more into selling books because there was a higher profit margin because we did not have to pay much on the books. On the other products, the profit margin was a little less, so she decided to focus more towards selling information instead of focusing on other products, even though some other people, some associates, they wanted to sell other products, not the books. Yeah, everybody has a different taste. We don't blame them.
The books that you sold, the books that you published or someone else published?
Yeah, those books were published by People's Publishing House, all 5 of them. The books which I wrote in English, the one which I wrote back in the old country, those were published by other publishing companies.
So the books that you were sold through People's Publishing Company were the books that you wrote?
Exactly.
And how did you generate an audience for those books?
Okay.
advertise on the internet? Did you do something else? How was it that you generated an audience?
Yeah, very good question. That's where we are coming to. Okay, because everybody is waiting for that answer. Now, I started a website. Website was a very, very new thing in those days. Even the White House had their first website. First time they went online, it was 1995. So it was a new thing. So even though I wanted to have an internet presence, I started a website, but I was more focused towards doing it to mail order. So we started to get mailing lists from various list brokers, and we started to market through the mail order, through direct mail.
And what are list masters?
There is a register, it's called SRDS, Standard Rate and Data System. They have about 30,000. They used to be 30,000. Now it's double. It's about 60,000 lists in that register. So anybody can go in there and check for the list, because it all depends on the product you're selling. Maybe if you're selling jewelry items or perfumes or something else, the list you need to have should be appropriate for that particular product, because every list is not going to work for everything. The lists that work for books, those lists are not going to work for perfumes or for vitamins or for weight loss products. So every list is different.
The mail order list, you have to buy them, or can you just get them from the internet? How do you obtain them from the...
Excellent question. There are brokers who would like to sell you the book, the list. You can buy those books and you have unlimited using rights. Some of them can give you the unlimited rights where you can sell your own products, only your products. You can market your product to that list. But there are other brokers who can give you unlimited rights where you can not only market your own products through those lists, you can also rent those lists to other people. Then there are brokers who will let you use that list only for one time. So those lists are only for one-time use.
And what type of... I understand you said that there are different lists for different items that are being sold. How do they put together a list of people who might be interested in buying a book?
Exactly. That is an excellent question. You're asking very good questions. But most people just wonder about that. They said, well, sometimes they tell me I sent out 200 names or 500 names. It did not generate anything. I said, how did you get the name? They said, I went to my phone book and I compiled the list. I said, that's called a compiled list. That's not going to work for everything. It may work once in a while, but not for everything. So you need to talk to a broker, tell them about your product, and give them a copy of the sales letter which you are going to send to those people. And they will like to have a look at it, and they will give you good advice if your product is going to work for such and such list or not. The main thing is that you should always ask for a data card. And that's where people trip. When they go to a broker, they do not ask for a data card. Data card is the most important thing in any mailing list. When you're talking to a broker, if you miss that step, then you will be screwed.
What does that mean? What is a data card?
The data card is, it tells you, it gives you the answer how the list was generated. For example, was the list generated through direct mail, or was it generated by putting small ads in a newspaper or in a magazine, classified ads, or through the internet? How the list was generated, or was it compiled list? They just compiled it from a phone book or from other means. So if it's a compiled list, it may have a very low response. So you need to know when the list was generated, how big the list is, and do they update the list every quarter or not? Some brokers, they do not update the list every quarter. They update it every 6 months or every year. So you need to know that. Sometimes the list is 10,000 names or or 50,000 names. You need to know that, how big the list is. Sometimes the list is only 1,500 names. It means it's a small list, so it may be a very good list. Sometimes the smaller lists are much better, so you need to know that. And how much did they sell to each of those customers? What is the maximum price range? What were the people spending on various products? Were they buying small books or large books or small jewelry products or large products? What kind of product did they buy? So you need to know everything about that list. That data card, which is normally one page, that one page, it could be 1.5 page, that will give you everything, will give you every attribute of that list. If the broker tells you they don't have a data card, or the list owner tells you they don't have a data card, I am very, very suspicious about that. It means that maybe a compiled list.
You mentioned that.
Yes. Hello? Oh my gosh. Did we get disconnected? Oh, sorry, friends. It looks like we got disconnected. Let me redial the other number. The line may be busy now. Anyway.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you fine.
Cut off. We were talking about the size of the list, and you got cut off at that point.
Yeah, we were talking about the data card. Let me repeat, because that's the most important step. I do not want anybody to trip because they did not ask a broker about the data card. It happens to so many people. They go to a broker, they go to a list owner, they go to a list manager, they say, I would like to get this list. They give them the list, but they don't ask for the data card. The data card is going to tell you when the list was generated. How old is the list? Was it generated this quarter, last quarter, or a year ago, 2 years ago? How big is the list? Is it 50,000 names, 200,000 names, or is it 1,500 names? How much did those people spend, the people on the list? Did they spend $20 or $50 or $100? Because that range, price range, will tell you if your product, your book, or your jewelry item or perfume item is going to sell or not. So you need to know all those things. And then you also need to know if the list was generated through space ads, classified ads, through internet, through direct mail, how the list was generated. If the list was generated through internet, it may not work for direct mail because people have different tastes. So that's why it's very, very important to get a one-page data card. Sometimes the data card is a page and a half, sometimes it's 1 page long, but it will tell you everything about the list. After you study the data card, only then you decide that you want to go for the list. And also give your sales letter or your mail piece to that broker. Most broker is going to ask for that anyway. If the broker doesn't ask for your mailing piece, then I should be suspicious too. Why didn't they ask for the mail piece? It means they don't care if so many people are mailing to the same mailing list. Normally they do ask for that. So be careful with those things.
Amrik Kang, what's the difference between a direct mail order sale and an internet sale?
Yeah, there's a big difference. Now, people who are on the internet, they are impulse buyers, I should say, even though buying most other people are also in the same range. But person who is on the internet, he's sitting there with his credit card in his pocket. He's sold. Once he reads your sales letter or your mail piece on the internet, he has his credit card ready. He wants to place an order immediately, right there and then. But if I'm sending them a mail piece in the direct mail, they're going to read it, they may sit on it, so they may think about it. So those people have different mindset. So that is why I never get a mailing list that was generated through the internet, and I do not try to send them a direct mail piece. So because people have different mindset.
You actually put in the snail mail an advertisement about your book?
Exactly. The snail mail is totally different because that has several different steps. It has its pros and cons. There are some drawbacks, but there are some good things about it too. It goes both ways.
When you get the full list from the broker, from the full mail order list, you write to everybody on that list, or how do you distinguish who to write to and who not to write to?
Good question. Normally, if I had paid for the entire list, let's say I rented 5,000 names, first time I would like to test. Some brokers, they would let you test 1,000 names, at least 1,000. Nobody will let you test less than 1,000. Sometimes they don't agree. They said 3,000 in the minimum. If I get a list that's 5,000 names and they didn't agree to rent me less than 5,000, I would send a test mail of 1,000 names only. Then I'll wait for a week, and then I will know what kind of response I received from it. Then I will send it to the rest. So I can divide into 2 or 3 different portions. I can test to first-class mail or a standard mail, because standard mail is a little cheaper. First-class mail is a little more expensive. When I say first-class, I mean not the regular first-class. I mean there are different first-class mail rates which are only offered to the companies who are doing bulk mail. I mean the bulk mail first-class. So I may test it.
You mentioned that people who buy on the internet are impulse buyers, but so many people are buying through the internet now, and mail orders are fewer and fewer. Why is it that you feel that mail orders are a better way to get someone to buy your product?
No, I did not say it's a better way. I would say there's a market for both modes of selling products. There are so many people out there, first of all, who do not have computers. I run into those people all the time.
Okay,
Some people,
it's another avenue for selling.
Exactly. Some people, they have computers, they don't know how to even use the computer. Sometimes I end up spending hours and hours teaching on Windows. I said that's too much for me. You better buy a book, Computer for Dummies, or take a class, or do something before you can do something on the internet. So that's hard, and it's easier for them to do direct mail. So that is the reason that direct mail is still selling more than what is being sold on the internet, even though it looks like that postal service is going out of business. But I don't agree with that because postal service is still doing billions of dollars worth of business.
So direct mail actually is still selling more than the internet.
Exactly. That is a fact of life. It's still selling much, much more than internet. But the people who are expert, who feel really, who are computer savvy, who are very competent, and they are the ones who are making sales through computer, and they become rich very fast. But computer sales or internet sales, that's not for everybody. But as far as direct mail goes, almost everybody can handle it. That's the difference.
And you actually generate sales as a result of the direct mail advertising that you send out.
Exactly. There are a few steps that you have to go through in order to generate sales and sell books or any other product for that matter.
Now, we're going to take a break now, Amrik. When we come back, I want to go through those steps that you would go through.
Exactly. People will be waiting for those steps. Thank you.
Stick with us. Don't hang up. Hopefully we won't lose you again. This is The World of Work. I'm your host, Shep Cohen. We're speaking with Amrik Kang, who is the author of Talk of Our Times, Income at Home. And when we come back, he's going to talk about the steps that you use when you're using a direct mail order list and trying to sell. We'll be back after these few messages.
Thank you.
You're listening to WDVR 89.7 Delaware Township, New Jersey. Starting September 2nd. Our complexion change as we age. Spots, wrinkles, and other features come and go. And the same thing is true on the giant planets of the solar system. Big spots can appear and disappear over timescales of years or even decades. Over the last year, for example, Hubble Space Telescope has watched a big new dark spot appear on Neptune. The outer Hubble first saw the spot a year ago, then saw it again in May. It's a high-pressure system, a big whirl at the top of the planet's thick atmosphere. It's similar to the Great Red Spot on Jupiter. Streaks of white clouds stream around it. The Voyager 2 spacecraft saw an even bigger spot on Neptune. The Great Dark Spot was as big as Earth. Even so, Neptune is so far away that ground-based telescopes of the day couldn't see enough detail on Neptune to follow it. By the time Hubble could take a look at it a few years later, the Great Dark Spot had disappeared. Yet it is clear that such spots are common features on this solar system giant. And Neptune is putting in its biggest appearance of the year. It's lining up opposite the sun, so it rises at sunset, is in the sky all night, and shines brightest for the year. It's so far away, though, that you need help to spot it. Through a telescope, it looks like a tiny blue star near the center of the constellation Aquarius. On Facebook, Twitter, and on our website, stardate.org. For the McDonald Observatory, I'm Sandy Wood.
Yes, indeed, we are back in the saddle again. Hi, I'm Dave McDade, along with my co-host Carolyn Gilligan at the Country Store. We're open and ready for business. Traditional country music business, that is. Each and every Friday evening from 5 to 7 p.m. So you can just kick back, relax, and welcome in the weekend just the way you like it, in country style. So give us a shout, a holler, or simply drop by the Country Store, your country store, and we'll be looking for you.
And we're looking for you on WDVR and the World of Work. This is your host, Shep Cohen. And before we get going, I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday and a happy Labor Day. Also, if any of you have purchased the New York Times today or had it delivered to you, there's an insert about lawyers in the newspaper today, Friday, and I'm featured in that insert. So you can read a little bit about me in there if you have an interest.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'll get it on the internet, I hope.
I hope you can, but if not, I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
And we were speaking this afternoon with Amrik Kang, who is the author of Talk of Our Times, Income at Home, and we were talking about, when we took our break, about mail orders and sales through mail order, and he was going to take when you want to make a sale and try to solicit business through the internet, not through the internet, through mail order. So, Amrik, why don't you go ahead and do that now?
Okay, now we are assuming that they have already named their company, they registered it, they started it. And the next step is they make a decision what kind of product they are going to sell. Let's they have already made that decision. Let's say it's books. It could be anything else. I'm biased for books because that's what I'm doing. It could be any other product. So the next step after that is that then they need to talk to a broker, need to tell them that they're going to sell this product. They will ask for the mail piece. That's most brokers will ask for. They will say, send us a copy of your mail piece. Mail piece means the sales letter. It could be 2 pages or 4 pages sales letter. Mine is 4 pages. And then it will have the outer envelope. It could be a window or a regular envelope, number 10 envelope or number 9, which goes inside, or you can call it BRE, business reply envelope. It could have a lift letter inside. So all those 3-4 pieces makes you a mail piece. They would like to see that. So you need to send that to the broker, and then you ask for the data card, as we already discussed. So after you have that, you have your sales letter, you have your data card, the list arrives. The next step is that you go through the list. Sometimes the list have the names which look weird, the addresses are weird, and you have to go through it physically and try to edit it. Then after that, there are some other steps which are required by the Postal Service. You need to cache correct the list. It's called cache correction, coding accuracy system. That's what that means to be brief. So what that means, every name on that list has to be deliverable according to the Postal Service rules. So you run it through a software, the list, everything is deliverable, and then there are some softwares out there. Those are going to add the barcodes. If you want to save money, you need to put a barcode on your sales letter or on your envelope, so that barcode, it makes easily deliverable. The barcode has the name, the city, state, address, and even the door of the person where the letter is going to be delivered. So the barcode has all the information in it. Normally it goes on top of your first name and last name, the first line on the address. Most letters when you receive in the mail, there are those small lines you see. That barcode has all the information about you and your address in it. Even if the address is a little bit crooked, if the barcode is in the proper position, the Postal Service has those machines. Those machines are able to read the barcode, and they are going to direct that letter into a proper channel where it should be going. So you need to prepare that list with all that software, put the barcodes on it, then you put it into the trays, put the labels on. I'm just talking about the bulk mail, so that you save money, because the bulk mail rate is 41.9, or it could be even a little less if you sort a little more.
Amrik, you focus on 1,000 at first, 1,000 people that you mailed out to. What out of that 1,000, how many who respond positively and purchase the book is a good number for you to show?
Oh, good question. Excellent question. Everybody should be asking that question once they test the list. So the first thing they need to do, like we have in our database, we have a cost analysis. That's what my wife does. She's the one who runs this whole thing. I'm a sort of supervisor, a writer and a supervisor, because I have a full-time job in the court system. That's what I do every day. I'm coming back from the court now, and I'm just a supervisor. And she has that database, and there she has the cost analysis. How much each list cost per 1,000, how much 1,000 envelopes, number 9, number 10 are going to cost her. How much are 1,000 sales letters going to cost her? So she has that cost analysis. Everybody needs to know that. So once the response comes back, if your cost analysis tells you that your break-even point is 1.5%, then you should be only mailing to those lists that will give you 1.5%. Otherwise, you will be losing money. If I get 1.5% from my very first 1,000, I will mail to the next 2,000 and then the next 2,000. Okay? If the response rate is only 0.5%, then I know that this list is poor list. So I may not even waste money on the rest of it. If it's 1.25%, I will still take a chance. I'll say, oh, the rest of the list may generate more. Sometimes that happens. The first half, the first 1,000 give you only 0.5% or 1.75%. The rest may give you less or more. So you have to take that risk. You have to make that decision.
Now, we've talked about your business, but if someone wants to start a business at home, a mail order business at home, and they're really not sure what products they want to be selling, how is it that they would go about determining what product would be profitable for them?
Yeah, good question. Most people, first of all, they don't know that. Now, my flagship book is Unveiling the Secrets What Mail Order Companies Do Not Want You to Know, because sometimes they don't tell you everything. They sell one thing through their mail order business. They tell people to sell other things. I don't do that. Everybody has the same opportunity. If they want to sell my flagship book, which is Unveiling the Secrets that mail order companies don't want you to know, they can sell that. If they want to sell the other 4 books, they are fine. They can do that. If they just want to sell the products which are listed in my other 2 guidebooks, I call them guidebooks because one guidebook has domestic products, other one has foreign products. Some people want to sell just products. They don't want to sell books. So I ask them, what is your taste? What do you want to sell? They tell me, I don't want to sell books. I have no taste for books. I want to sell perfumes. I want to sell jewelry items or weight loss products or some other stuff, children's clothing. I say, okay, then you can get those 2 guidebooks and pick your products, then go from there. Or if you have something else in mind, then pick that. So they should not be selling something that they don't like.
Is just picking the product enough, or do you have to do some type of analysis to determine which is a profitable product?
Yeah, I can only tell them that don't get the heavy products. Heavy products, they are not good mail order candidates. When you do the cost analysis, those should be very, very light products, which you can ship in a small box to the postal service. Even if you have to do UPS, it should not cost you an arm and a leg. Plus, it will kill all your time. Just shipping and handling will eat all the profit. Maybe the large corporations can do that, but an ordinary person running a business from home, they should not be going for a big, large, bulky item. They should be going for small items like jewelry, perfumes, vitamins, weight loss, children's clothing, laundry, stuff like that. Smaller items which has a larger profit margin, but they don't cost much to ship. So this is where they should start.
Amrik Kang, once someone has focused on what business they want to, or what product they want to sell, what tools do they need to start the business?
Okay, the next step, they will need 2 things. Most people, for the first maybe few months, they can get away without a computer. These days, I think it's very, very necessary to have a computer and a printer. When we first got started, I had a job with the Boeing company. My wife only had an IBM Selectric typewriter that I brought from California with me when I moved. Pardon me?
What year again was that?
That was 1990, and she had an IBM Selectric typewriter, and later on I bought her another typewriter, which were taking the discs. Those discs had the memory; those had the chip in it, so she was able to generate a little more with the help of that typewriter. That was semi-automatic. It was still not a computer. From IBM Selectric, she went to that next step, typewriter. Then I bought her an IBM computer. So and a printer. The printer was.
The first typewriter that she had probably is an antique today.
We don't have it anymore. But the printer, the first printer she was using to print labels, she just got rid of that printer only 4 or 5 months ago because it finally stopped working. And finally she replaced it. We were amazed. That printer lasted that many years. That was a Panasonic. that was amazing. Now she has 6 printers and 8 computers. And so
8 computers?
Now she has 8 computers, 4 fax machines, 6 printers. Now there's a full office. But this is how she got started with the IBM Selectric. Then she went to an electric typewriter, then an IBM computer. But these days, I would say the person who is getting started these days, I think it will be beneficial if they can have a small computer. Computers are not that expensive these days. For $300, you can buy a computer. Those days, it was very expensive. Later on, I bought her a laptop that cost me $3,200. $3,200.
Wow.
And these days, the same laptop is $300 to $400 these days.
Yeah.
So it's not that expensive.
With all these computers, is your business still home-based, or is it somewhere else?
Oh, yeah, it's still home-based. When we first bought this house, we decided to buy a house, a 5-bedroom house where we could live upstairs and we can have the whole downstairs, the living room, the 2-bedroom, the garage, everything, our home office. And that's what we have been doing. Later on, when I decided to go into real estate and mortgage, became a mortgage broker for a while, I decided to throw that part of the business into Spectrum Enterprises, but she continued to do the home business through People's Publishing House after I retired from the Boeing Company, by the way, after I took the early retirement from the Boeing Company.
How do you know how to price merchandise that you're selling?
Now your books are, you always know how much they cost you. If you are buying something for 25 cents and you are selling it 4 or 5 times or 6 times, you already know that there's a big margin, plus you have your cost analysis. So from there, if you're making money, then you should continue. If you're not making money, then there's something wrong you're doing. So you need to go back to the drawing board and do the analysis. Where are you going wrong? Are you spending too much money on your sales letters or other things? So you need to do some shopping. We keep doing that all the time in order to cut corners, in order to bring the cost down so that the profit margin is big enough. So everybody needs to do that.
Amrik Kang, how do you run your business without the middleman?
Now, in my books, there's no middleman. If you say, well, I also have to get them printed, yes, that's true. I don't have my own printing press. We go to a couple of printing presses, our favorite ones, they print the books for me, but still I don't call them a middleman. They make their profit up front, then I pay so many dollars, $2 or $3 per copy, then I know how much it cost me. But if you are buying jewelry items or some other products, they are going to drop ship for you. Most companies, they can drop ship for you. So you can go directly to those sources. They will drop ship, and then you can avoid the middleman. If you are going to the middleman, then they are going to have their profit margin too. So there are different ways of doing it.
In your book, Income at Home, you talk about starting as a realtor, the easy way or the hard way. Tell us about both.
Okay, now as far as that I wasn't going to tell you about the realtor. The reason that came in after I retired from the Boeing Company, I took the early retirement. I was on medical leave at the time, and I became eligible at age 55. They had the requirement minimum of 10 years of vesting and 55 years of age, and I was eligible. I took that early retirement. I decided to go into real estate. I became a realtor and a mortgage broker. From a loan officer, I became a mortgage broker and a real estate broker. I had both brokerages, and I decided to throw that part into Spectrum Enterprise while my wife continued to take care of the publishing part through People's Publishing House, because that's why I had those 2 separate entities from the beginning, because I had that in mind from day one, that someday I may be throwing other things into it. So for that I had to get it approved through other state, that they had to come and do some inspections, that this is a suitable place because customers will be coming in and out. By the way, I don't do that real estate brokerage or mortgage brokerage anymore. I just returned my license to the state voluntarily, even though I was not busted for anything. That's a whole different story. Now I work for the Washington State court system as an interpreter. I interpret 3 different languages, and I'm a full-time court interpreter. I do not do real estate. I don't do mortgage brokerage anymore. This interpreting and this translation or this transcription business, that is being taken care of through Spectrum Enterprises.
Now, talking about what languages do you interpret in?
Yeah, I interpret in Punjabi, which is happened to be my mother tongue. I wrote first 2 books in that language, Then the national language of India is Hindi. I am also registered by the state of Washington in that language. Then I also interpret in Urdu language, that is the national language of Pakistan, even though it's also spoken in some areas in India also. At my father's time, that used to be the state language for a while. So I interpret those three languages. I have to speak four languages most of the days. Sometimes in the same course. Pardon me? Good, excellent question. I wonder how did you come up with that question. The reason I'm laughing, my garage door went bad. I called one of my friends. The reason I called him a friend, because he became friend. He came last year, and he replaced the motor of my garage. We offered him tea. He wanted to sit down with me, and we had a chat. That's what I normally do with the vendors who come to fix something. I just invite them inside my home, and this is a regular thing in Indian culture. We sit down for if they have time. And the next time he came, just a few weeks ago, he came again because this time the spring broke. He came to replace the spring, and he sat down. That's the question he asked. And we started talking about my books and other things. And he asked me, what language do you think in? So you asked me the same question. So the answer I gave him, I'm going to give you the same answer. If I am thinking poetry, and my first poetry book came a couple of years ago, the other one will come out in the next few weeks. It has gone to the press already. So then I am thinking in the Punjabi language, which is my native tongue, which is my mother tongue. When I cry, when I laugh, or when I think, that's automatically in the mother tongue. But if I am doing some serious thinking, I am writing an article, or writing a short story or essay or something else, then I can think in English, or I can think in Punjabi, or I can think in Urdu. Or if I'm standing in front of a judge interpreting in one of those languages, then I don't think in Punjabi. I'm thinking that language, what I'm using at that particular moment.
I'll ask you one more question about this. Just fascinating.
Yeah.
How about dreaming? Do you know what language you dream in?
Exactly. So that's a good question. Several times I had those dreams, and when I was communicating, even though nobody has recorded, I wish maybe somebody should record those dreams. And when I wake up, sometimes those dreams seem real, and I'm back in the old country once in a while. By the way, I have not visited the old country in the last 35 years. And some people don't believe me when I tell them that. They say, how is that possible? I said, that's a fact of life. Okay, and sometimes I'm back in the old country and I'm dreaming. The dreams, most of the time, I get bad dreams. I don't get good dreams. I get dreams about the police and all that kind of stuff, the trouble I got into, and I dream in my mother tongue. And people are talking to me, they're talking to me in my mother tongue, in my language. In those dreams. You can call them nightmares if you want, but I don't call them nightmares anymore because I have been away from that place so long now.
Knowing, all these languages, do you ever get confused between one language or another, or is it? Yeah,
that's another excellent question. When I first left India in 1972, the first country I visited was Greece. I went through a tutor. Hired a tutor. He was teaching us for a couple of semesters. He taught us the Greek language. He started to speak very good Greek language, and everybody was surprised how I was so good at it. And I wanted to go for the higher studies. And when I went back, the next time I came to Sweden, and I decided to take the language course there in Sweden. It was only one semester. I had to go back because my mother was sick. But even in one semester, I became very good at it. And then I continued to learn more and more. And the third time I left India, I decided to stay in Germany because I had no friend. I started to go to school in the German language. That was one of their requirements. At that time, I was able to speak Greek. I was able to speak Swedish and German and English, and sometimes it was becoming too much for me. And then I decided if I'm not using a language, at that time I was not using Greek and Swedish. I said, why am I trying to focus on those? I'm not really using those. I should just put them on the back burner. I should start forgetting those. So I started to forget those on purpose. I said, I don't need those. I should be focusing more on German language because that's the what I'm going to need after I'm going for my final exam before I get admitted by the university. So I started to focus more on the German language, and I became very good at it. I was #1 student in that school.
Now, when you interpret in the court system, how many times, how much in a day are you actually interpreting?
So how many? Say it again.
How many hours?
Oh, how many hours? Okay, if it is 2 hours, 2 hours is one interpreter is good enough for 2 hours. Unless it's simultaneously. If it's simultaneous, then there are always 2 interpreters. For half an hour, they may not be. For 1 hour, they may not be. But if it's longer than that, then we take turns for 30 minutes at a time. Because people start to get exhausted. They need to get a sip of water. Maybe they need to go to the restroom. But if it's consecutive, then I can do it all day long. Like I was in a divorce case out of town. I had to stay there in a hotel for 3 days. I was the only one there. And I did it for the defendant. I did it for 3 days. That was not a problem at all. Because there were so many breaks in between. So then it's fine. But if it's simultaneous, I can do it maybe 30 minutes at a time. Then they switch the mode. It goes to consecutive mode. Then it's okay. Yeah.
We only have about 2 minutes left. Let's switch back a little bit to mail order selling.
Yes.
You say
the first important thing is that your list is the most important. Let's start with the most important thing. The most important thing is the list. Even though product is important, you have decided the product. Everybody has a different taste for different products, so I wouldn't be telling them what product they need to sell. They should decide for themselves. First they have the product, then they need to have a sales letter. So if they are not able to come up with their own sales letter, they need to talk to someone. They rent somebody's brain. They will give them a sales letter, and then they have to come up with a mailing list. The mailing list is very, very important. Without a mailing list, 80% is the mailing list, I should say, and 20% is the rest. If the mailing list is bad, you may have an excellent product, you may have everything excellent, but it will be bad. The rest is that you should be very disciplined. People say, I am my own boss. Some people think, oh, I'm my own boss. That does not mean that you do not get up early in the morning. You need to get up in the morning. You need to attend all the phone calls. You take care of the phone messages. Then you have to put in your mail. You take in the postal service. Then you have some orders sitting there in the mailbox. You need to bring the orders and send them a disclosure statement if that is one thing which you do, which we normally do. This is how we stay compliant. You didn't ask me that question anyway, which is fine. So you need to take care of the customers at the same time. So that's very important. If you do not take care of them, even though there's so many other important steps, but these are the most important ones for me and for my wife, which we take care of everything, every day.
we have to cut off at this point. Amrik Kang, author of Talk of Our Times, Income at Home. Thank you very much.
The time went by so fast. We were having so much fun. I wish we had another hour. So thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Until next week, this is The World of Work. And coming up next, Dave McDade and Carolyn in the Country Store.
Thank you. Bye.
And happy Labor Day to everyone.
Thank you. You too.